Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Madam Secretary, Mr. Hayes. Good to see both of you. Madam Secretary, first I want to thank you for your commitment that you have made as it relates to King Cove. The Director of Indian Affairs, Mr. Washburn, is going to be visiting King Cove in late June. The commitment that you have made to visit in August is one that, again, I appreciate, and I look forward to joining you on that trip. I don't want to belabor this point, but I am looking forward to this visit for a number of reasons. First and foremost, to introduce you to my constituents. I think you know how strongly I feel, how strongly the members of the Alaska delegation feel about this road that we have been talking about, this 10-mile, single-lane, gravel, non-commercial use road that would help provide for essentially emergency access for the residents of King Cove to an all-weather airport. So we thought we had reconciled that in the 2009 Omnibus Act. It's not done yet, but I want to work with you to see that we finally and fully resolve this fairly for the citizens of King Cove. I do have a number of questions to ask today. I know that we're going to have some votes that are going to interrupt, but I do hope that we will have a chance to have further discussion about some of the things that I find really timely for us right now. One that I want to bring up is the situation that we have with our legacy wells up in the National Petroleum Reserve. My statement has been that I think that the Department is presiding over an environmental disaster within the National Petroleum Reserve, and that this has to be addressed. It has to be remedied. We have more than 100 wells that were drilled by the Federal Government, and then they walked away. They abandoned them. And these legacy wells, as they are referred to, are full of contaminants that pollute the environment. The Federal Government has all but abandoned the responsibility to clean up after itself. BLM's annual budget has for many years contained base funding of only about $1 million for cleaning up these wells, and yet the last two sites cost the agency $2 million each to remediate. So if we keep it up at this pace, it's going to be more than 100 years to clean up the mess that the Federal Government participated in. And as I have told you, Madam Secretary, in person and in recent hearings, it's categorically unacceptable. And so is the Administration's proposal to use Alaska's share of future NPRA revenues for remediation. I met with the mayor of the North Slope Borough, Charlotte Brower, as well as others several weeks back. I know that you had a chance as well. I have a copy of a letter from the mayor, from our Commissioner of Natural Resources, from the President of ASRC, and the President of the Inupiat community on the North Slope that I would like to have included as part of the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A related concern is the pattern of falling production on Federal lands. It's true that our nation is in the midst of an historic oil and gas boom, but it's also true that production on Federal lands is in trouble. Contrary to some of the statements, the rhetoric that we've heard, oil production from the Federal estate actually fell 5% last year after falling by even more than that in 2011. Natural gas production from the same Federal areas, meanwhile, is in virtual freefall, down 8% last year and down 23% since 2009. The fact of the matter is that America's energy boom is happening in spite of Federal policies that stymie our production. We should be opening new lands to development, making sure that permits are approved on time, and preventing regulation and litigation from locking down our lands. And if anyone's looking for a place to start, I'll invite you to look to Alaska. I also want to very briefly mention, before I conclude, Mr. Chairman, the sue and settle tactic that the Department has engaged in to enforce the Endangered Species Act. Sue and settle, in my view, is alarming, and with decisions now due on hundreds of species, the economic consequences could be considerable. Madam Secretary, I recognize that you have a unique background to sit before us as the Secretary of the Interior, background in the oil and gas industry, in the private sector, in the conservation community. I think this is all the right mix, and I welcome you in this position. You have promised to bring stakeholders together to help solve problems, to be that convener. We need that, and again, I welcome it. I'm hopeful that you will bring that fresh perspective to help us move through some of these long-standing stalemates. I look forward to working with you, and thank you for being here this morning.